Thanks, Charlie. All right, with that, we're going to move to our moment of silence. Well, we have been able to see what breathtaking things mankind can do with the spaceship moving across the moon. We are unfortunately met at the same time with continuing violence in the Middle East. Well, the men and women doing the lunar orbit hopefully will be safe. Our boys and girls remain unsafe in the Middle East. So this is a prayer for our servicemen and women and thank them for their service. So please take a moment of silence. Thank you very much. Public service announcements. Mary Lou.
Just a reminder that voting is, the elections are a week from today, which is the 13th, so please get out there and vote.
Thank you. Jason?
Nothing from me.
All right, and we have an Arbor Day proclamation.
Yes.
Am I doing that? I don't have it. Can you hand it to me?
We don't have it? Oh, we didn't get it in time, so we'll do it at the next meeting. But
There will be one to
There
come.
will be one.
So with that, I have no other public service announcements other than to, as Mary Lou said, remind everybody to vote 1 week from today. So with that, we will move to our joint meeting with the Planning Board and our friends at Central Mass Regional Planning regarding the Regional Vision Zero Action Plan. Thank you. Go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you all for having us here today. This is all the crowd is for the Safety Action Plan. I know you have other interesting agenda items, but we are glad to see everybody here. So just introducing ourselves. I'm Sujata Krishnan. I am the Deputy Executive Director and the Transportation Lead for Central Mass Regional Planning Commission. I've been with the commission for over 18 years, so been here a couple of times doing different presentations. Thank you all for having us. With that, I'll turn it over to our colleagues just to introduce yourself, please.
Sure. Good afternoon. Sandy Makohena. I am a transportation planner as well with the Central Mass Regional Planning Commission.
I am Jeff Holland, the Senior Transportation Planning Engineer. Been there for just about 2 years after I left the interim Concom agent here in Sturbridge.
Nothing. Thank you. So what we want to present today is we want to introduce our work with the Regional Vision Zero Action Plan. Vision Zero is a vision towards zero fatalities and serious injuries in the region. We want to present what we've collected for data so far as crash data, but more importantly, a large part of the time that we've asked for today is for discussion. We want to hear from you all as to what if there's something missing. Obviously, data doesn't tell the whole story when it comes to safety. We want to hear from you, not just location information, but things that are happening in town that you want to share with us. So we want to make sure that's all incorporated as part of this Regional Vision Zero Action Plan. Next slide, please. So we start out our presentations with this question: how many deaths or serious injuries are acceptable on roadways in your community? And I hope we all say overwhelmingly zero. We don't want to see any deaths or serious injuries on our roadways. That is why this is Vision Zero. That is the vision, to see there's not any deaths or serious injuries in our communities. Next slide, please. Unfortunately, though, in our region, so you can see the map of the Central Mass, our planning region, which is Worcester and the 39 surrounding communities, Sturbridge being one of our major communities. In the last 5 years, where the data was, last 5 full years of data between 2020 and 2024, there have been 131 fatal crashes in the region and over 1,000 serious injury crashes in the region. In Sturbridge particularly, there have been 7 fatal crashes in that same period of time and 30 serious injuries as well. We'll talk more about specific Sturbridge specifics as we go through these slides. Just for definition, a serious injury is like an incapacitating injury, loss of limb, spinal injury, brain injury, or something major like that. Next slide, please. Again, why this work is very important to us. Obviously, it's not just a crash, it's a person, it's a family member, it's near and dear to our heart. We just heard that Route 20 had another fatal crash in the last week. So, it's not an easy thing when something like that happens. It's a major, thing for the community, for the region, and for the state and the nation, obviously. Next slide, please. So what is Vision Zero? Obviously, we have like a traditional approach we've done in the past through our vision from the federal, from the state. The traditional approach was, traffic deaths are inevitable, human behavior, we are expecting for perfect human behavior in the past, we're trying to prevent collisions with design. But what we've kind of moved into for Vision Zero is like, first of all, we all have to understand that traffic deaths are preventable, and with the approach that we have to assume that humans will fail, and we have to create a system that will take that failure into consideration so we can avoid deaths and serious injuries. And doing, rather than losing somebody, let's make sure we save the lives before it's lost in the crash. Next slide, please. So how do we move towards Vision Zero? This is an approach, we call it safe system approach. This has been adopted by, I know the slide is a little hard to see, but I'll try to kind of talk a little bit about this here. This has been adopted by both our federal and our state partners. So the basic crux of a safe system approach is it's a shared responsibility. It's not just the driver, it's the people who design the roadway, it's the people who respond to a crash, it's people like us planning for roadways, designing roadways. It's everybody have a shared responsibility in this. So what it is basically, it's kind of has this principle that, traffic deaths are preventable, humans make mistakes, but as far as the shared responsibility, it's the users, it's this creating safer vehicles, making sure there's safe speeds, the roadways are designed safely, and also there's post-crash care, which means, if there is, God forbid, there is a serious injury or there's a serious crash, we are able to transport that person and provide that life, the care that the person needs as part of this to ensure that we are able to prevent fatalities and serious injuries as part of this. If you can go to the next slide, please. So how is at the federal level and the state level, how are we trying to get to Vision Zero across the country? There's 3 different routes to kind of get to this. Obviously, we are here today to discuss the action plan, which is the first step. We want to create a regional safety action plan. And then once we have a plan and we have some locations or high injury, places to look at. The next step is to look at planning and demonstration activities. Actually, as part of this application or this grant we have here today, we do have a demonstration activity in the city of Worcester on Beacon Street, which has a lot of crashes. It's an urban roadway. It's near Main Street in the city of Worcester. We're trying some treatments as part of this demonstration activity. We are hoping to learn lessons as part of it. We are hoping to have implementation of this demonstration project in the next 3 to 6 months. Once it's implemented, we want to invite all our communities to see what's been implemented as part of this. So there might be other things we can bring back to Sturbridge or other communities. And finally, the mega grant, the implementation grants, where it's like a larger project where you're actually rebuilding a roadway to make it a safer roadway. So what we have is we have a federal grant to do the regional action plan and a small demonstration activity in the city of Worcester. That's what we have. For this, if you can go to the next slide, I think that I can talk about that. Also, as part of this Vision Zero effort that we are tackling here, we do have a pretty extensive advisory committee. As you can see, it's open. It's still open. We want to keep it open after the action plan is completed. As you can see, we have different stakeholders. We have police, we have, we have some paratransit riders, that people with disabilities, we have planners, we have MassDOT, we have the RTA, we have, we have DPW, we have, conservation commissions and everybody that's interested. So it's still open. If anybody from Sturbridge wants to join the advisory committee, please feel free to join as part of it. And you can see we have some meetings laid out there as well. There's meetings in May, August, and November. And we will continue, once we have an action plan, that's when the work actually begins. It's not, doing the action plan is just part one. Once we have an action plan, we want to make sure we are able to implement or move towards making these roadways safer. Next slide, please. So what, again, what you see on the screen here is the demonstration project. It's a picture on Beacon Street where the, people are looking at what's happening on Beacon Street, what kind of, bump outs can be created to make it safer for pedestrians and make sure the cars, it has a, this is not new to any part of Central Mass towns, I guess. It has a steep hill coming down, so people are speeding as they come down to the intersection, and which causes, and a lot of people walking down there. So how do you slow down traffic? Again, speed humps are a solution, but not really popular when you have like residents living right next door. It's not like an easy thing to have. So what we are trying, again, I think this will be our first one in Central Mass, is they call it chicanes. It's basically creating an artificial bend in the road which will slow down people. So it's a straight street coming downhill. So with using paint and some maybe some flexible posts, you're making cars not to go in a straight line. There will be an artificial jog in the road so they can slow down and they're not just like barreling down the roadway. So that will be one of the demonstration items that we'll be trying as part of this project as well. Next slide, please. We have Beta Group. We've hired Beta Group, or we've selected Beta Group as part of a consultant to look at all the data and create the plan. But CMRPC, because we know our 40 communities, we wanted to do all the public outreach and hear from our communities firsthand. We did have some sub-regional meetings. Those were all virtual meetings. As you can see, they were all completed in March. But taking from that sub-regional meetings, we want to make sure we talk to each and every community. So we are scheduling 40 meetings basically to meet with each of our communities. Thank you for having us here today. We are halfway through our meetings with our communities, so we are hoping to wrap our community meetings by May. We have 25 more to go, so we can get the input from all our communities as well. Next slide, please. So this slide here shows crashes by communities. Obviously, Worcester, has a lot of crashes. These are just, it is the total number of crashes, and the colors in there is the type of crashes. So is it an angle crash, head-on crash, rear end, side swipe, single vehicle, and vulnerable user? Vulnerable user is anybody that's not protected by a steel cage. Basically, it would be a motorcyclist, it could be a skater, it could be a bike rider, it could be a pedestrian. Those are vulnerable road users, basically. So I'm looking at Sturbridge, you're like 7th maybe, you have 1,425 crashes there. I think what we noticed in Sturbridge was a lot of single vehicle crashes. That might be more given to a little bit more the rural feel you have around here, where people are probably driving off the road, hitting a fixed object like a tree or something like that as part of it. Next slide, please. Again, this is just a slide. I know Worcester kind of takes the price there on the first slide, but we took out Worcester out of the picture just to show where everything stands. So you can see Shrewsbury, Westboro, Auburn, Charlton, Southbridge, Webster, and then comes Sturbridge. So, you're neck and neck with Webster. I think that makes sense with the population you have and the geographic area you have for crashes. And, Route 20 doesn't make it easy for you with crashes. So I'm pretty sure you have a lot of crashes on Route 20 as well. Next slide, please. This doesn't matter. These are communities with less than 800 crashes, and we talked about Sturbridge in the other slide. Next slide, please. The map is hard to read, but we have all this data in a dashboard format, which we will share with the town. You can go and you can look at, you can zoom in. This is data that the consultant was able to take from MassDOT crash impact portal. So when the police report to a crash, they do a electronic filing and it goes to the RMV. MassDOT takes all that data from RMV, they process it and put the locational attributes and put it on a map. It's not 100% accurate, but they try their best. They read through the report and make sure they're assigning the right location to it. So there might be things a little bit off here and there, but they've been working on perfecting this for the last, almost 10 years now. So it's getting a lot better in terms of data. Next slide, please. So what is the consultant doing? They're taking the data and they're developing, obviously we know the locations where the data is happening, but they're also developing a high injury network. So basically corridors where we can concentrate our future efforts on. So basically a high injury network is where crashes have been most frequent. And the high injury network, they're using two different ways to generate the high injury network. One is trends-based. We all know, crashes happened in the past, so we are expecting, if no major changes have happened locationally or design-wise, it might happen in the future. But another way of looking at it is more risk-based or predictive, which is basically they assign a score based on, if there are a lot of, if there's a lot of volume of roadway, cars, if there's like a major location, like a retail location or an important location and things like that. So they can predict where the high injury, locations might be. So basically they're taking both the trends-based and the risk-based and then combining those both, and then they're prioritizing top locations and corridors and bus stops, intersections, corridors, and bus stops in the region. So if you can go to the next slide, please. So for to show the methodology for the risk-based, you can see that they're looking at proximity to bike trails, proximity to schools, transit stops, EJ block groups, high-speed corridors, high-volume corridors, and things like that. And there's a point system that they're using to develop that. So the next slide shows this is for Sturbridge. You can see it's, a lot along Route 20, which makes a lot of sense. And also some of I know the map is hard to see here, but some of the significant locations in Sturbridge are Route 20 at Fisk Hill Road, sorry. God. And Route 20, obviously all of Route 20, especially at intersections, have been high injury. Hall Road at Main Street is another location. Haynes Street was one. And then Route 49 and Putnam Hill Road. So those are kind of like what we found from the data as high injury locations or corridors in Sturbridge. Next slide, please. So basically, this is what the data tells us. This is what Vision Zero is. Before I jump on to the discussion piece, as part of the public outreach, we have two different ways that people who are not here today, or if you want to look at this data and provide more input, if you don't get to it, we have a survey that's open, and we've got a lot of input on the survey in communities that have shared it either through your website or social media posts. We had a meeting with Rutland, they put it on their social media or website, and we had over 100 surveys. So we would really encourage if Sturbridge can put it on, whatever your medium of communication is with your, this is a public, everybody drives roadways, everybody knows where unsafe locations are, so we'd like to do that. And as part of that, there's a survey, but also, if you're really interested in location, we have a mapping piece. It's called Concern Mapper. So basically, it's a map. You can go and you can drop a point, or you can draw a corridor and say, we feel this is very unsafe. It doesn't have to be just in Sturbridge. If you're driving, somewhere else, you go to Charlton or you go to Worcester or something, and there's roadways that you feel unsafe, we want to find that out from you. So this is the one ask we have from you all is to, please fill out the survey, have others fill out the survey, and if the town can put it on your, any kind of social media or web page, that would be great. So with that, we'd like to kind of, again, like I said, the large part of this is the discussion. Some of the questions we want to for you to think about as we do this discussion is, do the locations we shared with you make sense? Or does the data show the entire picture? Is there something we are missing as part of this? And again, like I said, there might be locations where it's not an actual crash, but it might be a near miss. You feel unsafe, it's like an accident waiting to happen. If you could share that. Anything with trucks, I know there's been, Jeff is working with Heather on truck exclusion. There's been trucks coming off of 84 onto local roads. We hear that a lot, especially closer to the highway. Any safe routes to school, do you have school, speeding, visible, sight distance issues? So again, we'll leave the questions up here. So Sandy is here with me to take notes. So if you want to just start off with any questions on just what I presented, and then we can go into the, location.
Well, I'd like to start with a couple sort of structural questions, if I may. So there's sort of buckets that they were kind of hard to read, but I understand why. So if we were to exclude the Pike in 84, which you can't because people come off the Pike in 84, obviously, though, but within serious motor vehicle events, how much would that reduce the numbers we had? Do you know?
Actually, that did we say those are the limited access highways are excluded as part of this?
I believe so.
They are
Okay,
excluded.
so
The
they're-
high injury network does not include that. So yes.
Okay, so that's helpful.
And it's because you really have no control.
That
Right.
you're predicting my question.
Yep.
So in terms of and this you probably don't, and this probably gets to the feedback you're looking for. In terms of cross-intersectional events, meaning people, we mentioned Hall Road, it would be coming up to the end of Hall Road and taking a left versus taking a right. How many of the events we're dealing with are across the yellow lines, as it were?
I think that would be an angle crash. We can definitely we have the data.
Okay.
You could definitely, if you have a specific location, or if you want to just find that out for all of Sturbridge, what's happening, we can provide that.
Well, I
So-
think 20 would probably be the one we're most concerned about, because as you get past, I don't know, whatever piece you want to, really the Pike exits, there's vulnerability there, especially with dealing with tractor trailers. Now, I don't know so I'd be curious about that.
Okay.
And then in terms of substance abuse and alcohol in those events, what role does that play in the data?
So we do have the data, but that's one thing we also want to hear from you is again, this is location data we're providing you, but because there is, right now, there are programs through MassDOT as well that are available. One of the programs they're doing is to do the flashing beacons and things like that, but they also, they introduced a program called Community Voices, where basically it's like an educational campaign. So if you're seeing that to be a thing in Sturbridge where you're talking about distracted driving or substance abuse or one of those things, we want to hear about, if that's a concern, we can work with you specifically to see what kind of messaging can be done, or you can distill the data more. There is data for it.
Yeah, I don't know if it is a concern, or I'm really asking, because I know the troopers seem to be doing more announcements, sort of announced sobriety checks and whatnot, which, really isn't my experience, but I think in Massachusetts. So, all right, those are my sort of threshold questions. Chase, Mary Lou, anything else?
Just to touch on the location, I think the biggest concern for me personally is from the lights in Sturbridge here by CVS to the Charlton line on Route 20. That covers the 49 intersection. It covers by Cracker Barrel, Walmart. When you get down that end of 20 with the stoplights, I feel like traffic's under control speed-wise, but it's just that end of town. It's horrible.
Yeah, the data shows that too, yes.
And one other thing, because we're basically moving to rotaries out on 20 for the most part, right? And that's more or less
Yeah.
the goal. So are there going to be, is the state going to engage in more right-hand restricted turning? Because you had right-hand restricted turning with a rotary where it's far less of an inconvenience where you have to drive a couple miles on the road or something before you can turn around. Because I think some of that inherently does take the pressure off of, people aren't gonna die. It's, it's just, there's less force involved when you're not crossing intersections and you have rotaries. So is that sort of where things are going for 20?
I know MassDOT, this came up again, 20 is a big discussion,
Yeah.
right?
And there's a lot of it.
It's not just about, yes, safety is a big issue on 20, but also like when Pike gets clogged, everybody wants to be on 20, we all know that. So we are talking to MassDOT, that came up as a big, like just studying 20 in itself. I know now that Charlton Oxford is complete, look at 20 from all aspects. Safety would be a big piece of it as
Yeah.
well. I don't know what the treatments will look like when they start looking at it, but I'm pretty sure safety will be front and center as part of it.
Are they trying to push tractor trailer trucks onto the Pike?
That is the whole, yeah, that's the,
I mean, that's a goal, but reality is the truckers probably are gonna take what they consider their easiest route.
Well, no, I understand that, and so will people on Waze, but the same token, unlike a commuter, tractor trailer companies engaging in commerce where they make quite a bit of money, and they can be the same, you can have a 20 fine, you can have a Pike toll. You can reduce the Pike toll, you can increase the Pike cost. There's all sorts of ways. I said it the opposite way, but you know what I meant. Like, are those conversations happening?
again, we heard about tolls and what happened at the state level. That's way above my pay grade, so I don't know what that is. But we've started to engage in conversations because it's not lost on our district, but and MassDOT in general is, Pike between 84 and 290, or rather 495 is the largest. They have to really come up with a solution for it to really elevate whatever is happening on 20, and they cannot solve 20 without solving whatever is happening on the Pike. So there's definitely talk about
the
that.
chain of 20 though we have is distinct though, because it's one of the few where you can do a clean bypass.
Mm-hmm.
You can jump to Auburn on 20 in a way that you can't, it's just not, 20's not that helpful everywhere else unless there's a real traffic stop. So anyways, I feel like I'm monopolizing the time. Mary Lou, anything?
You didn't mention New Boston Road and Route 20. People come out of New Boston and take a left. That means they have to cross 20, stop in the median, and then continue on to Route 20 when it's clear. That's a really dangerous intersection.
We talked about that this morning. We said, oh yeah, that's going to come up. Yes, it is a dangerous, and it's
Some
not.
people drive too fast. So anyways, I apologize. Anything else?
Nope, that was it.
Charlie?
Yeah, I think maybe the first question I have is this dashboard with the crash data, when will that be available and how will it be accessed? Or-
So following this meeting, Rob, who couldn't be here today, will be able to send it
Okay.
to, Jean and others,
Good.
and we can, anybody can have access to it to look at it. Again, the final dashboard itself, I think, will be available once we have it, but the concern mapper is basically the same dashboard that we are
Right.
developing. So yes, it's available now, and we'll make sure we share it with all of you as a follow-up to this meeting.
Yeah, I think
Yes.
that would be, very helpful. And I think, as far as the first questions on the locations, they certainly, seemed reasonable to me, and I know Chase said the same thing. But maybe the chief could weigh in on, whether or not you have any other issues or concerns that come to mind about, some of these highlighted areas where the concerns were.
Yeah, I agree with the data that's up there. I think that's spot on, and I agree with the fact that from 20 at CBS that way, you got the higher speed. That's where the more serious injuries are occurring, like Shay said. But pretty much where you're named, that's not even, those crashes are only crashes that are reportable. We respond to a lot more crashes than actually is in that data. Some of those crashes just aren't reportable. In other words, they're happening in parking lots, or they're under $1,000. So these are just the serious injury crashes that we're responding to.
So if you have locations that aren't reportable, but you seem to have a rational, take the parking lots out, but if they're on a public street, let us know where those are too, because at some point there'll be more than just a unreportable accident.
Yeah, 'cause
So it is important for us to know those too, and that's one reason why we're out to you, asking you those questions, because that's important.
we have a lot that will not be reportable, just like Noble gas station, trucks are hitting each other there almost daily. Walmart parking
Yeah.
lot bumping into each other down there, so those will never be reportable because they're minor in nature, but we can certainly look at some data for minor fender benders, which would probably be from CVS.
Right,
That-
and some of it you would be, you don't even have to look for, you probably already know that these are the locations.
Yeah.
Well, another way you could gather the data is that the insurance claims, the insurance companies are gonna have the best information on relatively small claims and, you know, because if it's just a dent in the door, we don't care, but you know, they do.
We track them, we track those crashes, they're just considered a call for service rather than an actual report being filed. So if the people wanna do an insurance claim after the fact, they just call the police station, get that particular call for service number, give it to the insurance company so they can start their claim process.
Okay.
I think one of the questions or concerns I have that I think makes us a little bit unique is that we're a high tourist area. So, you know, part of the problem is people don't know where the dangerous areas are. If you're from the area, you know if you're making a left turn out of Noble, you're gonna pay extra attention, you realize how fast they're coming. One of the concerns I have, and we've talked about this with the potential for roundabouts that DOT is looking at is, for people who know the area, roundabouts work very well. People who don't, they can be a bit confusing. And so I guess my question would be, is any of this data taken into account? I'm not sure how you fix that problem. Is it signage? Is it earlier signage? Is it speed limits to slow people down because they don't know where they're going? But if somehow what could be taken into account is the number of people that are driving in a very unfamiliar area at different spike times of the year, the Brimfield Fair time, the fall when we've got leave groups and bus tours going, and those kinds of things. So I think that part of our problem is also, yeah, our roadways are just inherently because of the high speed and the highways, but I also think that that tourist component and the lack of familiarity with the roadways is potentially problematic interacting with tractor-trailer trucks, and tractor-trailers who may not be familiar with the roadways on top of it.
Well, and also piggybacks on the tech companies who are diverting, because they all know, you know, they pull people off of the roads, and, you know, I don't know how much you can really stop that as a point of interstate commerce. I don't think the federal government would appreciate it, but there is they have an onus too, right? A lot of these events are occurring, but with that, back to.
Yeah, so if I could, I think I'd like to see if the planning board has any thoughts or concerns or questions on this, Wally or Jimmy?
Well, I think that the locations are spot on. I have to agree with that. And I'm looking at the balloon data up there. That's been a concern for the longest time. And when everybody has said several times, since from CVS all the way to the Charlton line is a drastic thing. And then going northbound on 49 up to where the Putnam Road is, that's a disaster as well. My concern is that signage is a wonderful thing, and the narrowing of the streets, like you talked about in Worcester, coming down and making an artificial jog. Those are all infrastructural things that can really help. Things like Jersey barriers going down Route 20, obviously, great ideas. A third turning lane, we don't have any of those now. Until Route 20 does get taken care of, and as far as a heavy construction a redo again, what are our options between now and then? Are we just going to become more statistically just challenged with the accidents that are coming, or is there anything in the works right now in the interim until that construction is going to be done in the future as far as relining the roads? The other question I have is that right now we have 4 lanes on Route 20 coming right from Charlton all the way down into Sturbridge, right into Sturbridge past the Host Hotel. And then it goes down to 2 lanes. We're a rural community. And I've always really felt that Route 20, it funnels down, it should funnel and stop at 2 lanes at 131 and just be 2 lanes right into Brimfield, like they did a few years ago with the Brimfield out. And that way, oh my God, this is going to be traffic backed up because the Brimfield, well, it really didn't happen that bad with the Brimfield fairs. Anyway, that's down the road as far as construction goes. But in the interim, are there any remedial effects that we could do, or in the works right now, to enhance the safety on the roads until construction is done?
The answer is yes. We could do remedial stuff. Like I said, MassDOT has a lot of systematic safety improvement projects they're doing. We could definitely talk about Route 20, and like you said, maybe there's striping, there could be some temporary, measures that can be done to divide the roadway or reduce the number of lanes. So we could definitely talk about it. We'll include that as part of it. We're going to make sure MassDOT is interested in learning if there's short-term, low-cost things that they can work on to help communities to make roadways safer. So yes, we could definitely talk about
I
it.
did see they put a turning lane in when they put the new urgent care center in there, and it didn't seem to be much work at all. I mean, there was work obviously involved, but there was to put that turning lane in coming from the west to turn into that across the lake. That was a major thing, and a lot of businesses up along the way don't have that ability, to have not had that put in there. This was able to get done in a very, very short order too. So my question is that, with that being said, and that being done with by Mass DOT, up further until we get the construction done, that would be something that would be really, really helpful to us as a community.
Yeah, I think we also have to consider that, over the past several years, we've certainly participated and sponsored and done an awful lot of studies on that area. I mean, every developer that we have, whether it was urgent care or Noble Gas or anything there, has spent, a lot of money and time trying to look at the different alternatives. In fact, Gene has even, got to the point where, we're not really asking to do more because we've sent so much to the state, and it's still all being worked on with our possible things. So I think it's a good point, though. So, Dane, do you have any thoughts or comments, or?
So we're here today because you applied for and received a federal grant, and that grant is funding Beta's work plus one pilot project in Worcester.
Yes.
And then when is the timing of when you expect to issue your plan or reports or findings?
Good point. I forgot to mention that. So two things I forgot to mention. One is, so we are hoping to have a draft action plan completed by this fall, like November-ish, and have it adopted January 2027. So that's when we'll have a regional plan. And what this plan allows us to do as a region, because this is a regional plan, is if Sturbridge wants to pursue further grants based off of this action plan, you could. It allows all our communities to kind of do that next step if you wish to, so.
When do you expect the Worcester activation to go live?
So the Worcester activation, again, right now we're waiting for approval, even though it's a temporary project, it still has to go through the NEPA process because it's touching right of way. We are hoping for approval in the next few weeks, and construction this summer, right, summer, and we're going to leave that. So what the demonstration project requires us to do is, so we're going to look at before and after. So we have all the data before what's happening with crashes. Implementation goes on in summer, and we are going to observe this for a whole year, 4 seasons, to see if weather has an impact and all that. And then we will report the findings next year after the whole year is completed. What has the improvements done? Did it improve safety? How, what, when, and all that stuff. So there will be an appendix, if you may, to the action plan with the demonstration project, all the outputs from there.
Will that include how the plow driver feels about the chicane?
Yes, yes.
How do I follow along with this?
So one thing, obviously, reach out to us. We can, always share data, and you could become a member of the advisory committee, which is going to stay in touch. And like I said, once the demonstration project is constructed, I'm using air quotes because it's not like real construction, we want to invite our communities to come take a look too. So if you're interested, you could come and take a look at us. We can do a meeting. So
Field
yeah.
trip.
Yeah, or we can come back to you all if the planning board is interested to
Oh, yeah, I
learn
think
more
we'd be very
about that. We
interested,
can come
sure.
back. So.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Good. Sue, do you have any thoughts or comments? No, I don't. Brad?
I have one question as far as parallel with the accidents that you have on here and volume of traffic through the different areas and seasons and the timeline makes sense as well. Is that data available as well? Do you have anything on that?
We have, so it's really hard with crashes. We have volume data here and there. We have traffic counts. But generally, when you do the intersection level, it's vehicle miles travel, like we have some of it, we don't have all of it, but we can show you where the major roadways are, like just to see the comparison, like where the major, what level of traffic it's carrying, we can share that data. Yes, we have that, yeah. I think our dashboard might have that too. I have to check and see, but we have that on CMRPC website.
Does the
Yeah.
dashboard break down not just from a heat map perspective, but from a graph charting perspective of the roadways? So if we wanted to look at the top, 20 roadways that we can see on here.
I think so. Let me, again, Rob is the expert. I'm sorry, I'm filling in for him, but we'll have all that data. Yes, yeah.
Great, thank you. Dave, any thoughts?
Yeah, considering most of the roads in Sturbridge are US roads or state roads, how will your efforts be with, we'll say with MassDOT, be collaborative or cooperative, and how does that integrate with what the state? The state must have, I assume, some sort of plans and some kind of timelines and their ideas, and how will your ideas mesh in your studies, mesh with them, and will you be able to collaborate with the state to be able to make these things happen and move forward?
Yeah, so two things, the state does have a Vision Zero plan, so they're ahead of us, so they do have the same kind of goals that we have in terms of zero fatalities. So as part of, so the state, we've invited the safety division and our district offices to be part of our advisory committee, so they're following the study very closely, and they are looking for discussions like this, what can they work on, because they're looking for what is their next step in this, and they want to hear from us. So we'll definitely bring all this back, and especially the Route 20 discussion is going to be a discussion with them for sure. But yes, this is all, they're watching this closely to see how they can do their piece. So both in the short term and long term.
All right, thank you.
Yeah.
Taylor, any thoughts?
20's already been beat up, so that's why I was going to obviously, I think one of the most important things is once there is a plan in place to address maybe different segments of where we're going to attack 20 and improve it, it's finding to do so in a way that's not going to cripple businesses in the meantime. I mean, how much that we do off of tourism and in our restaurants and our hotels, it all needs to be timely, but it's good to see that this is actually coming about. Thank you.
That's a really good point, because there have been a lot of projects around the state that's become a big problem for the businesses and so forth. I just had one other, thought. As a matter of fact, it came really, I was surprised recently finding out from Jane how much of a fast track that roundabout at 131 and 20 is actually on. So maybe Jane could fill us in on that and have any other comments that you might have.
So plans are still being developed for the intersection, and we don't have plans at this time.
No.
We expect that Howard Stein Hudson will reveal something in the near future, and that there'll be some kind of public meeting this spring or this summer when we actually get those plans, so.
So on that particular note, and, everybody's very logical and polite. The state knows where every single accident in the state happens. They can subpoena it. Everybody knows what's happening. Their insurance registration boards inherently require people to cover things of a certain level, and then when it falls on someone who's not insured, it's also known. So and perhaps I'm just impolite, but my only concern with all of this is that although these remediation measures and thoughtful community-based fact gatherings are important, some of it is just like, we kind of know a lot of where the problems are, or where the regular problems are, where you've had more than one or two accidents. So, and again, I know this isn't any of your issue, but like to have a grant to analyze this when we're already holding a lot of this information, and then we don't have it readily, is kind of, and again, it's not, and it's a constant with MassDOT, who's not one of the great communicators in my experience, who having worked for them for years. And so I guess that's the other part of it. So my question to you guys would be is, what do you need from us? Because I'm comfortable not being polite with the Department of Transportation, and they know where people are dying. They know people who are getting named. They know when the response calls are. Everybody knows all of this information. This is not everybody's. You're driving around with this. Everybody knows where you are, what you did, how you did it. So how do we break some of that portion of it, where it's like we're all going to come together in 5 years? You know, because it's a lot of, you know, and I get it in 1988. I'm gonna have less patience for it now, to be honest.
So, again.
And you don't have to say anything.
No, I will answer because I you know, and that's why we are here. Again, I know we don't have MassDOT here today, but, you know, you have a regional planning agency for that purpose you're talking about. Obviously, like you, I know you're all going to go into town meetings soon. Yeah, you know where all the problems are, but you can't address all of it because money is an issue. I'm preaching the choir here. But I think advocating for what you need is what it is. Yes, they know it, but they have to hear like firsthand. So I'll give an example. Charlton Oxford, you know, the $105 million project that was on Route 20 came from actually the town rallied and came to our meeting when we were doing our long-range transportation plan, I think 8 years ago. They brought all their people and they said, this needs to be a priority, like right now, not 10 years, not 15 years, you have to do it. And MassDOT, and we heard it loud and clear, MassDOT heard it loud and clear, and guess what? That project is completed. Now, that's, for a transportation infrastructure project, that is a lightning speed project that went through like within like that fast. So what you have here today is a great start. We have such a, I think this is the largest meeting we've had for this topic here. So that'll definitely be a big thing. And again, Sturbridge is not the only community that's talking about Route 20. Everybody's like, okay, now that Charlton Oxford is done, now we have to really look at 20 past that. So we are going to take this back to our state partners. We do have a great district to work with, so we are going to bring back this and say, okay, how do we kind of move it forward? We don't want to be 5 years from now. Let's start looking at it. So yes, no. I hope I answered it.
Well, you did, but it's just that the MassDOT has all the registry information. Every event is on the registry. Like, they have all of the data.
They do, but then the data only shows what the data is. It's going to show Worcester has a lot of crashes. Then how will Sturbridge compete with Worcester?
That is actually not correct. The MassDOT will be able to get comprehensive police reports, because they can get all of what actually occurred.
Oh, no, I'm not saying, I'm saying like you'd kind of drown out in the data. When you look at data, it shows the high, when they're trying to filter it, it doesn't really filter.
I understand that, but that's 1,000 events in this community alone. Yeah. And 1,000 events from a data perspective, relative to if you think about what happens when a train derails or a plane goes down, is not a particularly significant data set from a transportation perspective. So I guess, and I'm not trying to kill the messenger here, and I don't think that this is even within the ambit of what you're doing, but there is a certain amount of it's a, let's just call it hypocrisy is a clean word. But you know what I mean? Like, so anyways, I don't want to.
I think you make a good point, there, Jamie. But on the other hand, I mean, I think you have to look at this as like, one component, sort of a tool that they're trying to move forward. When you look back at the issues we've had over the years, particularly on Route 20, and all the work that has been put in, like, even on the pilot plan, Noble Gas project there, they went through iterations where their consultant, dealt with a single roundabout, the peanut roundabout, back and forth. I mean, studies all over the place on this thing. And all of it, the goal has been to try to reduce those accident areas. I mean, there was discussion about how Hall Road should be put into that. And I think we're at the point, really, where they have solidified on the idea what they're going to do with the roundabout on 131. They're talking about the issues they're going to deal with on Hall Road and Route 20. So I think we have that component that's in the works, but I think this is something else that really just tries to give the communities an opportunity to maybe, bring in some more data and another way to make it not just road safety, but driver safety and other issues that affect these accidents. I guess that's what we're really trying to do.
Sure. Yeah.
Good. Well, thank you. Thank you very much.
Go ahead.
I got one question, there's been some, and I'm careful of not using the word improvements, but changes to like Route 20 and Hall Road intersection, Route 49 at Putnam Road.
Oh, yeah.
Has those improvements helped? Have they made it worse? So that's why I'm careful in using the word improvements. But I know there's been some, but because the data's from 20 to 24. So
Yeah,
has any of those improvements helped?
I'd say the 20 and 49 for the vehicles to turn has probably helped in the sense where tractor trailer trucks can turn easier there because they can't take a left. They only did that because of the 2 cold storage facilities that were there.
Right.
So that's helped, and I'm sure without having those cold storage facilities before this data, we wouldn't know. But now that there's been a lot of trucks coming up, we're not getting a lot of tractor trailer crashes because they have the proper turning lane and they're not crossing over Route 20. So I think in that sense it's good, but to say it's improved, it's really can't tell because the facilities weren't there before this data.
And you can't, and also the cars are better. I
Right.
mean, they stop. Like, it's just all these cars, they're lighter, you know, ever since the auto bailout, they all have cameras, most of them are automated stops. So is it, yeah, I'm not saying it isn't better, it certainly is better, but there is a,
It's still scary.
yeah, like you hit the wrong day, the wrong time, and the wrong hydroplane. And, yeah, so anyways, with that, anything else from you guys?
Okay, I think all we need to do then is take a motion to recess and reconvene in 10 minutes across at the center office building. Make that motion. Second. Favor? Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, guys.
We are, and you have to hold on my shoulder and walk, and step behind me. Second school.
All right. Well, our meeting remains, so I'd ask our friends of the planning board to mind their manners, Wally. But with that, we are going to move on to department reports. Heather?
Thank you.
I don't know who Brad is.
Hi, Heather.
Good evening, Jamie. So first thing I would like to do is introduce the new DPW Assistant Director, Dr. Burmeister. So she wanted to come and hear the vision plan and get a chance to sit in a meeting and be introduced to all of you. So just so you see her face, you know who she is. If I'm not in the office, you need anything, she will be around. She's doing great and very eager. So you have second thing I'd like to say is unfortunately Shane is not able to be here tonight. He has some family matters that he needed to attend to that were kind of unexpected. So he does say, you know, his apologies, but you probably could schedule him for the next meeting and catch up with him.
Yeah, we'll hold the water and sewer this evening.
All right. You have 4 of my reports. I'm happy to answer any questions. If not, obviously, most of these reports are reflected of the winter time. While you're looking, I'll just give you some highlights of some numbers that I quickly pulled together today, and they're not any, like, specifically comprehensive, but I just kind of did a little research. This year, we had 17 snow events, compared to last year, there was 11. We had over 67 inches of snow. That's over 20 to 25 inches more than the last 3 years. Hours of contract hour snow events. So if I had our contractors come in, we had over 100-hour snow event hours, over 460 hours of that's contractor only. That's not our hired drivers. That's not hired contractors in for sidewalks even. That is just on hours on the roads plowing. That is, I would say, if I had to guess, we probably also had double of that comparatively, because the way we do our scheduling and other events, and we're coming in and cleaning up. To say that this was a challenging winter, it would be an understatement. For most of the winter, we were short-staffed internally. We had multiple contractors come and go depending on availability of their own equipment. we had our own equipment breakdown on various occasions. So, you know, it does just show you that we do need to be persistent in having backups, trying to get more contractors available. I do thank the schools, because they actually did help us with bus drivers when they knew the bus drivers weren't going to be able to drive. We had a couple bus drivers come in and help us on those really big storms. The other thing it does show that we have to be very vigilant in our scheduling, because we had multiple storms that we were here for over 24 hours straight. Some cases close to 36.
And I assume most of it was really just the real hard cold spell in February where it'd get those.
It was the two big storm events that we had, and then troubling the ice events, the ones that even didn't quite happen, were also challenging. We actually split shifts on one of those to make sure, because the worst part of an ice storm is you don't want to be behind it. You kind of have to be able to address it. And we had warmness coming into the ice events, or rain events coming into the ice events, where we couldn't really pre-treat. I do look forward to the stuff that you supported on town meeting with the pre-treatment of the brine solution. I do think that's going to give us another tool in our toolbox to be able to get ahead of them, even before the events start happening. It's not going to be the end all be all. I just actually hope we don't have another storm event like winter like this, but it was above average, but it wasn't like the top event either. We have to remember that we've been kind of on the lucky end, even though last year we had a lot of events, I would say, but they were more icy and small. So I just wanted to give a little recap of snow. Hopefully it's over, although they did predict potential snow flurries for tomorrow morning, just as I speak of it, so. like I said.
No.
Yeah, I know. The only, the one little other public service announcement that I want to have is, we did put a blurb out, and I don't have the dates with me. I thought I printed it, but I don't, regarding cleaning up in the cemetery. We're asking people to please remove their winter items so that we can get it really cleaned up before Memorial Day, and also asking people not to put any Memorial Day items off until the middle of May. There is a blurb on the town's website about it, so if anybody has any questions on those dates, we're going to start cleaning up here in the middle of April. We'll be removing items. Anything that we think is of value, we will store near the shed, but dead wreaths and all of that, we're taking off. If somebody wants any of that stuff, I ask them please to go clean up the cemetery to make sure that it looks the best it can for Memorial Day coming up. So starting in the middle of April, we start really cleaning up in there and trying to get it to look as best as we can, so. And there's a lot of down branches and everything that we are trying to get to. It's been one of those winters where everything seems to be falling.
All right, questions from the board?
No.
All right, I got nothing, Heather.
Okay.
Thanks, Heather, thanks,
Nice
Jacqueline.
meeting you. Okay. Chief, we are moving to consideration and possible action. Oh, no, I'm skipping Robin.
I'm just out of here.
Chief, hold on, Chief.
Very quickly,
Robin, go.
I will be quick.
Sorry
So,
about that, Robin.
one correction, last month, we had an officer resign, Officer Patterson, and it was listed as a dispatcher on our agenda, just so for the record. Officer Patterson was a patrol officer, not a dispatcher. So
Okay.
just for clarity on that, we thank her for her service as a patrol officer. Secondly, very quickly, 250th celebration reminder, May 16th is the Family Fun Day, June 27th is the parade. We are actively working with DOT. We hopefully will be getting the 250th banners up soon, along with also our Hometown Heroes banners up in time. So for the public, keep an eye open for events and whatnot. We also will be getting a Liberty Tree, and Wally Hersey will be in to talk about potential locations for that, along with Tony Crane. So thank you for that, and no further ado.
Chief.
Thank you, and good evening. Tonight, I'm pleased to recommend Kevin Martirosian for the appointment of full-time police officer with the Sturbridge Police Department. Kevin brings 18 years of law enforcement experience and a well-rounded professional background. He is also a resident of the town of Sturbridge, demonstrating his commitment to the community he would serve. He began his career with the Ocam Police Department in 2013 as a part-time police officer. While serving in that capacity, he was also employed as a full-time police officer with the Fitchburg State University Police Department, further expanding his law enforcement experience. In 2022, Kevin left Fitchburg State to assume the rank of full-time sergeant with the Ocam Police Department, where he has since served in supervisory role. As a sergeant, he had responsibilities that extended well beyond routine patrol duties. In addition to patrol functions, he supervised part-time officers, reviewed reports, coordinated schedule, oversaw firearms license, and manage a variety of administrative and supervisory tasks. His in-depth experience, leadership ability, and proven capacity to balance operational and administrative demands make him an excellent candidate for this position. Kevin holds an associate's degree in criminal justice from Quinsigamond Community College and has completed several credits towards his bachelor's degree. It should be noted that Kevin is the father of current officer Zachary Martirosian. Officer Martirosian had no involvement with the interview or hiring process. Appropriate administrative measures will be implemented to ensure transparency to avoid any potential conflicts of interest. Given his extensive background and experience, I recommend appointing Kevin Martirosian as a police officer effective April 7th, 2026, with an hourly rate of $39.16 an hour and benefits of a 3-year police officer minus longevity. And I've attached his resume and cover letter for you.
Thank you, Chief. Any questions? Very good.
No.
Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to confirm the appointment of Kevin Martirosian as a full-time police officer at an hourly rate of $39.16 with benefits of a 3-year officer minus longevity as of April 7th, 2026.
Second.
All those in favor? Welcome aboard.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Be safe, okay?
Congratulations.
Thank you.
You know, when I first saw the name, I was like, wait a minute, it's already a police
We've already got
officer.
one of those.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Welcome aboard.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Okay, action item B, consideration of possible action on appointing Claire Campbell to the Cultural Council for a term to expire, April 6, 2029.
So Ms. Campbell sent an email, and her background certainly shows an interest. She's here, in fact. There she is. Come on up. You can come on
If you
up.
want to come say something, you're welcome to it.
She has a Sturbridge resident, obviously, and a great background in theater and music.
Yeah.
And I think she'd be a great addition to our cultural council. Certainly welcome her to expand a little more on her background.
Yeah, I'll just read the statement I sent to you. Is that fine? Yeah, great. All right, so hello, for those of you who don't know me, I'm Claire Campbell. I'm a lifelong Sturbridge resident and was proudly educated through the Sturbridge Public School System. I spent 4 years in Princeton, New Jersey at Westminster Choir College. I got my Bachelor of Arts in Music, and I also minored in American Studies. So currently I'm a church musician. I also work seasonally at Roseland Cottage in Woodstock, Connecticut, which is a part of historic New England, so another big cultural institution around here. So I just feel like with my performing background, I also did private voice and piano lessons. I have a good idea, I think, of what the education system and the students in town might want to see for things, for grants and programs to come into the schools over the years. So, yeah, that's about it.
Oh,
We
great.
were excited to have an email like that. When I got that email, I'm like, ooh.
That's great. Well, thank you for being willing to volunteer your time. So with that, unless there's any questions, do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to appoint Claire Campbell to the Cultural Council for a term to expire April 6, 2029.
Second.
Second, all those in favor?
All right.
All right, welcome aboard. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. Action item C, consideration and possible action to approve the professional services agreement with Ty and Bond for pavement management support services and capital planning for the Department of Public Works in an amount not to exceed $18,000 through December 31st, 2026, and to authorize the town administrator to execute the agreement on behalf of the town. All right, so what's going on here, Rob?
Heather's here.
Oh, Heather.
It's our pavement management plan. It's an important one.
So with this, we are looking to incorporate the pavement management program we had done with Beta and have it moved over onto Ty and Bond's platform. Ty and Bond supports all our GIS. The project manager that I actually worked with at Beta has left and gone to Ty and Bond, so he's very familiar with the project that we had done. And there is a value to us to continue that relationship and incorporate it into the platform. So now we'll be able to easily call up water and sewer underneath the pavement so that we know, like, oh yeah, we have water and sewer lines we need to also look at when we're looking at pavement. In addition, the new program at Ty and Bond will be a little bit more interactive, that we'll be able to do more live updates when we do a road. It also provides us with some support services for picking roads and what we should do for different treatments, which we are already working on. Jacqueline's been working on our program for this year, but I think this would be a good tool for her to have, somebody who is a professional in just pavement treatments to bounce ideas off of and give them that support.
Okay. Questions? Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the professional services agreement with Ty and Bond Inc. for pavement management, support services, and capital planning for the Department of Public Works in the amount not to exceed $18,000 through December 31st, 2026, and to authorize the town administrator to execute the agreement on behalf of the town.
Second.
All those in favor? Thanks, Heather. Do you have anything else?
We do the next one.
Well, that makes.
I'll just support, so I don't.
Oh, yeah, so, okay, so this is the consideration and possible action on a partial abatement request, sewer only. All right, so what's going on here?
So, we did receive a request for an abatement request. Robin, myself, and Barbara did review it. We did think it warranted coming to the board. They did demonstrate that the pipe did break outside, and I was able to calculate what his normal usage was versus what the usage was in this report, and give you some recommendations on what, if you chose to abate, which I would believe should be sewer only, because the water was unfortunately not used, but we did go through the meter, but it didn't obviously go through the sewer. So
Okay, so you, basically, the point is,
it broke outside the house.
the sewer pipe broke outside the house.
No, the water pipe.
Water pipe broke
outside the house, so it didn't.
It didn't go into the
It
sewer
went on the
system.
lawn,
Gotcha,
basically,
gotcha,
so
gotcha.
it didn't go down the sewer. It's not a case where it broke inside the house
So
and they
we
had to
don't need
pump
to
it
abate
in
the
or anything.
sewer because the sewer had no added capacity outside of the normal use.
You abate the sewer, not the
Yeah,
water.
yeah,
Yep.
And it
exactly.
was clearly evidenced where the pipe broke that did.
And what is the cost of the abatement?
Well, we would abate the volume. The excess volume to be abated would be 2,261.5 cubic feet.
Okay.
So we would need a motion to abate that
Yeah,
volume.
then that makes sense. So questions, thoughts, concerns?
Makes sense.
Makes sense to me. So do you need a specific abatement amount or just?
You could support the memo and then we'll do the calculations to provide him.
Oh, it's 2,261.5 cubic. All right, I'm going to make a motion to support the request for abatement at 12 Newton Place for the usage, the excess usage of 2,261.5 cubic feet from the sewer usage.
Second.
All those in favor? Great, all right. Nothing else, right? You all done, Heather? All right, good. Okay. All right, consideration and possible action on approving a special land use permit for Heinz Farm, Plimpton Community Forest, Long Pond, and Riverlands Trails for the week of April 18th to 26, 2026 for a letterbox challenge event. Hi, Lauren.
How are you all?
Okay, nice to see you. So what's up?
So this is the second year that OPACOM's requesting to use these properties for the Letterbox Challenge. It's basically an event that's happening over April vacation to promote kids going outside. It went really well last year. I think they had a total of 35 participants, and they're hoping to get more this year, just with the title of the event, More Green, Less Screens, getting kids out and about. OPACOM is the CR holder for these properties as well too, so it's also in their interest to go out there respectfully, clean their mess when they're done. We had no issues, and I would recommend approving this permit. They're still going to conservation next week. The timeline didn't quite work out, but I don't anticipate any
And I would
issues that way.
recommend, yeah, and I would recommend approving with the standard conditions as well as the conditions that Lauren placed in her memo. So we'll provide it with that, those extra conditions too.
All right, and the extra conditions are post-event
Nobody leaves
inspection,
nobody
no
leaves,
damage,
yeah.
leave no trace
off
principles,
the
no
marked
motorized
trails,
vehicles,
yeah.
stay on the trails. Okay,
And that's in addition to the standard
okay.
things that we put out there.
So basically, the motion you're seeking is a motion to approve the usage of the special land use permit for Heinz Farm, Plimpton Community Forest, Long Pond, Riverland Trails for the week of April 18th to 26th, 2026, for a letterbox challenge event with the standard usage rules along with the amended, additional usage rules listed in the April 2nd, 2026 memo from the conservation agent. Is that right?
Yep.
All right, do we have a second?
Covered it all there.
All those in favor?
And I do have to bring attention to the new conservation logo.
Okay.
Yeah, I like
I have
that.
to bring this out while we're here with the little beaver on there, because that little beaver impacts conservation so much in this town. And we have had active discussions on how we're in awe of his.
It's actually open.
There we go.
Making the beaver the unofficial mascot for Sturbridge. We've already got 9 submissions for names so far. That closes tomorrow, and then there'll be a community-wide vote to name the Sturbridge beaver.
She didn't know I was gonna bring up the beaver, so this actually worked out pretty well. So we have been saying that since he costs us so much time, money, and outsmarts us at every turn, he deserves to be an unofficial mascot.
There it is. Well,
And we try to deceive him with beaver deceivers, and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't.
all right. So with, I think.
Find the little things that bring you joy.
I know,
We
are
have
there-
to smile about something
And then we're,
sometimes.
and then the, Lauren, do you have anything else here?
I have, yep, I've
She
got
does.
Which one?
The next
lead
one.
mine right
Oh,
after
it's
that.
everybody's
And
in
if you need me for the Slack thing.
Oh, yeah, so this is consideration of possible action to execute a contract with Fieldstone Natural Resources to prepare and deliver the lead mine forest stewardship plan for the amount of $16,451.58.
So at the last meeting, you all approved accepting the grant from DCR to conduct this project, which I'm really excited for. It's going to be a fast-paced thing. We've got about 3 months to finish it. We're getting the ball rolling. I've already got Fish and Wildlife involved because they are the partial property owner as well. We'll be doing some public engagement. We'll be doing some site walks just to kind of set a new forest management plan, and requesting that we execute a contract with Fieldwork. Why am I blanking on my move?
It's
Fieldstone Natural.
Fieldstone Natural
Yes.
Resources. There it is. All right, do we have a motion?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All those in favor? Great, thanks, Lauren.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
All right. Moving on, action item G. Consideration and possible action to appoint Michael Gianfrido to Sturbridge Lake Association, Big Alum Lake, for a term to expire April 6, 2029.
So this is sort of pro forma because they sort of select them, you just.
Yeah.
bless it.
Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to appoint Michael Gianfrido to Sturbridge Lake Association, Big Alum, for a term to expire April 6, 2029.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All those in favor? Great.
I apologize, I hear an echo.
Oh, don't worry. If you start thinking about all the errors I make pronouncing things. All right, moving on. H, consideration and possible action on the issuance of a common victualler license to the Bowl Place, 195 Charlton Road, license to be held until all compliance requirements are met.
This is in the Noble Plaza, so Pia, who has the coffee house, the mini coffee house in there, this is also heard. There are still a couple of outstanding items. I think fire has gone through it already, fire inspector.
That's the last
Okay.
We're just waiting on, so I think there are just a couple of, we were just waiting on final sign-offs, but Bill LePage has been involved, Health Department, I think, is cleared, so.
And she's already running site
And
on
she's
the
already-
property.
What exactly is boy or whatever it is?
I think they're an Asian, like protein bowls,
I think it's bowl.
they're very healthy.
Oh, healthy.
So you could go have your chocolate-filled croissant at the mini coffee house, and they'll go get your healthy protein bowl.
Oh, okay.
Store. You know I'll be at the chocolate croissant.
There it is. So with that, do we have a motion pending the satisfaction of additional sign-offs from other agencies in town?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor? Great.
And that pretty much fills Noble, by the way, once that's open, then between the ice cream at Frisbee's and the coffee house, and then the main convenience store.
Good.
That plaza's pretty full.
Great. So consideration and possible action on approving a one-day liquor license for Oakham Brewing Company from May 8th from 5:30 to 9:30 p.m. at Pickleball U for Paddles and Pints Night. So moved. Do we have a second?
Second.
All those in favor? Great. Consideration and possible action on the select board signing a change of manager application for Ocean State Job Lot from Richard Mott to Michael Camiello. All right, so what's going on here, Ryan?
Just a standard change of manager, no concerns on.
Yeah,
there he is.
if you just, just come down and introduce yourself, just, this involves the sales of
My name is
spirits.
Michael Camiolo, and I am currently the store leader at Ocean State Job Lot in Sturbridge, 178 Main Street. And my name has been on the license probably last year, and then I left the store to open the new store in Webster, and I've been asked to return to Sturbridge to run the store once again.
Great. Any
No
other
concerns
issues?
on our end.
All right, do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to sign a change of manager application for Ocean State Job Lot from Richard Mott to Michael Camiolo.
Camiolo, very good, thank you.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All those in favor? All right, great. Thank you for coming.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, moving to action item K, consideration and possible action on approval of a hawker and peddler license for Aaron Gizzi of Triforce Exterior Services LLC with an expiration date of March 12th, 2027.
What exactly is this for?
Yeah,
Yeah, he should be here. Francis had asked, we normally have people come here for this. This
Yeah.
is when they go door to door. So I would probably suggest that we table this since he's not here and there's no representative.
tabled.
Table.
Yep.
Moving on. Consideration and possible action on approval of the transient license application for David Brockman for the Sturbridge Show at the Host Hotel, May 10th and May 11th, July 5th and July 6th, September 6th and September 7th, all of 2026.
This is our annual show there, no concerns, no problems.
All right, do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the transient license application for David Brockman for the Sturbridge Show at the Sturbridge Host Hotel, May 10th, May 11th, July 5th, July 6th, September 6th, and September 7th, 2026.
Second.
All those in favor? Great. All right, moving on. Consideration and possible action on signing the seasonal liquor license renewal certification for 2026 with the ABCC. All right.
This is the standard,
This seems too exciting to me. Any questions?
No.
Nope.
I'm going to make a motion to approve signing the seasonal liquor license renewal certification for 2026 with the ABCC. Do we have a second?
Second.
All those in favor? Great. Consideration and possible action authorizing the town administrator to sign the two proposals for Energy Conservation Incorporated for HVAC control upgrades. Sturbridge Town Hall, $119,314.88 net cost. Sturbridge Center Office Building, $109,880.44 net cost.
So these go with our green communities. These were voted at town meeting last year in a capital item that we had on energy upgrades. And so this was voted, this is where the funding for this comes from, because these are all HVAC upgrades to keep us compliant with green communities.
So are they more electric or just more efficient?
Well, I think supposedly more efficient, but clearly we have HVAC issues.
And they didn't have any grant money for this through their green community?
This was part of the
This was
green
part of it,
communities
okay,
grant, and we
cool.
have to do some match funding, so this all is connected to that.
Okay.
And these were originally listed in that grouping when the prior facilities manager had put the grouping together of these projects, a couple $100,000 in energy upgrades. It's supposed to be more efficient.
Well, probably the prices today, it's probably more efficient.
I guess it is.
All right, so with that.
I'm hesitant to answer, because on a day-to-day, it may change tomorrow,
Yeah,
so.
so we're gonna make, can we get does anybody have a motion?
Make a motion to authorize the town administrator to sign the two proposals from Energy Conservation Inc. for HVAC controls upgrades in Sturbridge Town Hall, $119,314.88 net cost. Sturbridge Center Office Building, $109,880.44 net cost.
Second that.
All right, great. All those in favor? Great. Okay, we're moving to O, consideration and possible action for authorizing the town administrator to enter into an agreement with Deep Roots Distillery to run the annual Harvest Festival.
So last year, 2 years ago, Worcester Chamber gave it up. Deep Roots stepped up and ran it for us. The complications were that for them to pay vendors out of their pocket and us to reimburse became complicated if it's not officially a town event. It is officially a town event now, and what I did do is I contacted, because we knew it was less than 10,000, I could just reach out to get 3 quotes, if you will. I reached out to the 2 other entities that we felt could run this operation, so it would be Deep Roots. I reached out to Public House, and I reached out to Table 3. Public House and Table 3 both indicated that they were not interested in running it, and were perfectly fine with having Deep Roots. We even talked about, did they want to jointly run it to give everybody an opportunity. We did want it run locally.
Yeah.
So the amount on there, that 9,700, is basically their money out to pay for their vendors and insurance, and we're gonna reimburse. But this was the cleanest way to reimburse, was for it to become a town event and contract them. I did run the contract through KP Law. We had a few tweaks back and forth, but I think both parties are good now. So once I sign it, Deep Roots can sign it, because she needs to start contracting vendors right away.
Okay, and it was 9,850.
Yep, and they did a good job last year running it. Given that it was their first time running it, I think they did a great job stepping up and picking up the ball. And we're always happy to support a local business doing something like this.
No, it makes sense. The only thing again, and they're been an excellent, partner in town, so I don't have any worries with them, but we can't just let it go because of the nature of the event. We just have to make sure we have sufficient municipal eyes on it.
Yeah, and I think that's why making it a town event actually puts that control over it, because in the past it was not, it was totally a chamber event.
No, I understand that. But any questions, thoughts, concerns from the board?
Nope.
No? Or do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to authorize the town administrator to enter into an agreement with Deep Roots Distillery to run the annual Harvest Festival.
Second.
All right, all those in favor? Great. All right. You all right, Kadian? All right. The old business, Mary Lou.
No, nothing.
Jace? None for me. New business, Jace? Me neither.
Can I just ask that, I know we set up a potential retreat at the end of May,
Yeah.
but I do need the review first when you can.
Yeah, no, we'll
Okay.
deal with that. Let's wait till.
Yep, till you have all 4, I know.
Yeah,
But I
yeah,
just want to
it's
keep it on the
nice.
radar that I don't have the review before we do the goals.
Yep, that makes sense.
Yep.
Okay, and then we had correspondence from the Department of Public Utilities, Department of Telecommunications. Basically, they're engaging in rulemaking regarding utility pole attachment regulations, seeking public comment on proposed statewide standards, revised procedures, and interagency agreement. So with that, and then we have minutes, including the March 16th, 2026 minutes. Any edits? All right, I'm gonna make a motion to approve the March 16th meeting minutes as written.
All
All those in favor? Okay. Citizens Forum, Kadian, anything? All right, I'm gonna make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All right, Mary Lou seconded.
I'm in favor.